Hello and welcome to the Katie Life Podcast, your window to life in the UAE. My name is Anamika Chatterjee and I'm your host. Boys don't cry. How often have you heard this? But imagine, what if boys were to indeed cry? What if they enjoyed the societal freedoms to express themselves as fully as anyone else? What if they were to find strength in their vulnerabilities? Today, my guest is well-known men's mental health specialist and award-winning mindset shift coach, Rahaf Kobeissi, who will help us understand how attitudes towards mental health are changing among men. Rahaf, welcome to the Katie Life
Thank you
podcast.
for having me. Hi.
This is the KT Live podcast by Khaleej Times.
What made you specialize in something as niche as men's mental health?
To save someone else's dad in a way where I couldn't save my dad. It started in 2010 when I lost Baba to suicide. And it made me realize, Anamika, that we have an issue. My dad and I were very close. We were best friends. And the fact that didn't feel safe enough to come to say, I need help, or I'm not feeling okay, or something is wrong, was alarming to me. Like, why didn't he trust me with his struggles? Something is wrong. Um, Ever since that day, I just made it a mission, one, to overcome, of course, my shock and my grief, to heal, to go to therapy and all of that, so I could work with other men or other dads on helping them just to, come out, say you're not okay, you're supported, you're not alone. At the beginning, in my head or in my thinking process, I just wanted to save someone, another daughter, from that pain. I didn't want any girl to go through that same pain because it is painful. But then I thought, wait, if I work with her dad, then things, will change a little bit. Like gradually, I could avoid that pain. So it started from there. And my dad was one of the brightest, not because he's my Baba, but he was bright. He taught me everything he knew about life, love, music, movies, everything you could think about. I've learned it from him. So for me to know that I lost someone as precious as that man in my life to suicide, it was, wait a second, we're not talking about the same man. So that taught me two things or three things. One, men in the Middle East, because that's where I come from, they don't come out to say they're okay. They have to keep wearing the mask of I'm fine, I'm great, I'm strong, I'm okay. Society wouldn't allow him to do otherwise, and we don't know how to read symptoms. So I combined those three question marks and I expanded my knowledge on that because I needed to know why. Why was it so difficult for him to say I'm not okay when it's so easy for us to go and say I'm having a day? Us means women. And it started from there. And I took it one step at a time. The most important part was for me to be able to get all the tools in place, all the information in the right place, and also to take care of my own mental health. And mind you, when I first received the call that your dad has died, they told me it was a heart attack. That's how strong the stigma was. They couldn't even tell me it was suicide. I had to read it in one of the newspapers that I had to read my dad's initials, and I was, wait a second, and you do the math. Why? We were not allowed to say it in public. We were not allowed to talk to people and say that it's suicide. I've kept that as a secret for like 2 years, maybe 3 years, that yes, dad died by a heart attack, heart attack, heart attack. And then I was like, enough. I'm not going to hide behind that story anymore. He died by suicide. Deal with it. Learn about it. Know how to talk about these conversations, even if it made you uncomfortable, because we have a reality we need to face, that we are losing our men, most brilliant men in the society, because of this silent war. Heart attacks are getting high numbers. Suicides are getting also increasing.
Yeah.
We should stop. We should stop that war. And be it your brother or father or husband or son, there is a man in every woman's life that needs to be supported and loved and heard and listened to and protected. It's time to drop the narrative that men are only providing and protecting. They also need protection. One, from themselves, and two, from all the stigma that is slowly destigmatized.
Masculinity, the whole idea of masculinity puts pressure on men to act and behave in a certain way. Does it also make it difficult for them to process some complex emotions?
It makes it difficult for them to release, to understand those emotions, let alone process.
Right.
The definition of masculinity has to be redefined. We have been, and by we I mean mental health experts, we have been working so hard to raise awareness on that topic so we could make those conversations easier for people. It's getting better. It's definitely getting better, but you could still see that there is an increased level of stress around that topic for men, where they go to therapy either in private, they keep it as a secret, they don't want anyone to know that they're going to therapy, or they just deny it. And you know what? I'll brush it off. I have been doing well so far, so I could really do better in the next 2 years. So that he would either adapt a new hobby, buy a new luxurious car, take himself to a vacation, thinking that this is what a real man would do. But if he were the same man, but if he were surrounded by the right environment that fosters that mental health is normal, you can go to a therapist or a coach or a mentor, or you could just take a mental health break, then that man would approach that situation differently. He would say, you know what, I need to work on my mental health. I need some space. I need to rest. I need to recharge. But we're still not there. So the definition of masculinity is that a man, as I said, to protect, to provide, to wear the mask that I'm fine. He has responsibilities. He has some kids, school intuitions, whatever it is. So the man has to always keep it up, man it up, and move forward, move on. And it doesn't really matter if he has any kind of struggles because he is the man. Redefining masculinity is not something that we would like to have. It's a must. It's a must. And if it wasn't for the man himself, like the 40-year-old man or 50-year-old man we're dealing with today, at least do it for the kids. So their kids and all the generations to come, they wouldn't have to question themselves. Is it okay if I take a mental health break? Is it okay if I go work with a therapist? Or hopefully they wouldn't have to go to a therapist because of emotional baggage or traumas. But at least it would be okay, because let me ask you something. When you go to a dentist, would you be ashamed of saying that I'm going to
Not
a
at all.
dentist? Not at all. If we have a physical injury, I injured myself, I need to go see a doctor. You do an x-ray, a CT scan, whatever you need to do to take care of your physicality. Same thing should be done and treated with mental health.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit anxious. I'm feeling a bit depressed. I'm feeling a bit down or blue. What do you think I should do? It's still not okay for men to say that, because we don't talk about these things. We don't allow them to talk about these things, whether we know it or not, whether we have the bad intention or not. We still shame men for any kind of or any sign of vulnerability. We call it weakness.
Yeah. But generally, men are more reluctant to go to therapy, aren't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it comes from many factors. But one of them is us, and us is the culture and the society. We have been carrying that narrative for many generations. Yani it started from our ancestors that men are strong humans. Men should be warriors. Men should be providers and fighters and all of that. So it starts from a very young age. If you see your boy crying, stop crying. You're a man. Or you're the man of the house. You need to protect your sister. You need to take care of the house when I'm gone. So we put all that pressure on boys until they become men. So when you tell them that, hey, have you considered therapy? What do you mean therapy? I'm fine. No, I don't need therapy. Therapy is not for people like me. So yes, they are more reluctant. So one, because of the culture norms, society pressure and all of that. Two, because we lack mental health experts on men. So there, you don't see often men's mental health experts.
Absolutely.
You see marriage counselors, you see female therapists, but you don't really see much of men's experts in that area. What if men wants to or feels more comfortable to talk about his private issues with a man who has been there, who knows the experience, who has been in that shoes? But you don't see that often. There is all around the world, but I'm saying here in the Middle East, not so much. And the experts that I personally have seen in the market, unfortunately, they're doing it because it's a trend now to have mental health as an issue to talk about. It's just something that, you know what? Let me give it a try. Let me create a support group to help men talk about their feelings, and then all you hear about is it wasn't what I was expecting. We don't ask men what they want. So we just assume this is what you need and we give it to them. So they feel reluctant. And let's say a man goes to his wife on their morning coffee, and I say, honey, I'm thinking to go to therapy. What do you mean you want to go to therapy? Why? What's wrong? Look around. Your life is great. Your kids are happy. We shame men.
True.
We shame them. You have responsibilities. We have bills to pay. We have this. This is not the time for this. So men will say, you know what? I've been living with that baggage for so long now. It's okay. I'll do it for the family, or I'll do it for the job, or I'll do it for the paycheck. There's always something to sacrifice on the cost of his mental health. And then one day he opens his eyes, he can't take it anymore. Boof, depression, boof, suicidal thoughts, boof, suicide or heart attack. So for them to start going to therapy comfortably and publicly, it starts with us. Make it safe. I don't get it. Why are there just women empowerment campaigns? What about men empowerment? Why is it so important for us to protect women from abuse while we are abusing men? So to address this issue, it's very important that we promote awareness and action. So it's not just saying to men that it's okay not to be okay. Also help them, guide them what to do next. Make it an authentic mission in a way that if you're saying to a man that if you need help, I got you, really get him, really help him, provide resources, connect him to therapists or mental health coaches, help him have his own support group. If he doesn't want to go and talk to strangers, talk with his friends, have them to sit and have those conversations. Hey man, how's it going? How are you feeling? What are the things you're going through? Whatever it is, let's really help in opening doors for men to normalize talking about their bad situations, bad circumstances, because we've all had our share of bad stuff like grief, loss, breakups, heartbreaks, whatever it is. If you make a comparison, you would see that women would talk about it the minute it happens. Men don't. And
it helps us heal faster.
It helps us heal faster. It helps us heal faster. Thank you. This is why when you put a man and a woman next to each other, you could see that a woman's emotional intelligence is higher than a man. Not because a man is not capable, but because he has been taught that emotional release is weak instead of let's help you embrace your emotional vulnerability. You know? So please, let's not just raise awareness. It doesn't really end by just having an Instagram post or, you know, a nice design that says it's okay not to be okay. No, really take action. Do something about it. Start somewhere and then learn in the process how to hold space for men, how to help them feel supported, like genuinely supported. When you're asking someone how is their day or how are they doing, mean it. Listen to what they're saying, because you can never know what are they really saying by the things they're not saying. How are you? I'm fine. Okay, great. And the conversation ends. No, how are you? I'm fine. No, really, how are you? Imagine how the difference in the answer would be when you ask again. No, really, how are you? We don't do that. This simple thing, we don't do it. Why? Because we live in a fast-paced environment. Everything is in a rush. Everything is going faster. We don't pay attention. I'm just sharing one simple change we can do in our daily conversations to just help men open up. And he has the right to share and not to share, but at least what you've done is you've helped him realize that there is a space just here waiting for you when you're ready.
Do you think younger men, especially Gen Z men, are more comfortable
Oh, yes.
expressing their vulnerabilities? Why is that so?
Yes. Yes and no at the same time. So yes, for the majority of them, because we've made it easier for them. You're very welcome, by the way. We've started the conversations. We've raised awareness. We've had our really hard share of struggles like depression, suicides, anxiety, and all of that. So now they are raised in an environment that makes those conversations easier and smoother. It's okay now to have a TikTok video crying. We will share, we will support, we will, like, oh my God, if that boy or that teenager did this, then my boy can do that. It's all collective effort. They have real role models to look up to as well. As you can see in the past few years, especially after the pandemic, we have seen lots of celebrities, male figures, come out and say, I was not feeling okay. I had anxiety. I had this, I had that. And most of the time he would break down and start crying. Instead of shaming that person or public figure, we would applaud him and say, thank you for doing this. And you could read the comments from mothers like, thank you so much. My son was struggling with this. Or a boy would come out and say, thank you. Now you've made it easier for me to say that I'm really not okay. I'm struggling with this. I spoke to my parents. I spoke to my fiance or whatever it is. So yes, it has been an easier journey for the younger generations. But also, on the other hand, it's individualistic, because if that young man still lives in a house that doesn't support mental health, then it's an issue.
We had the producer of this podcast, Phil Green, talk about why men are hesitant to express their feelings. He comes from a different part of the world. He comes from Scotland. What about Arab men?
They're getting there. Listen, there is a shift in how Arab men are perceiving mental health these days because of the increased access to information, all the awareness that has been done. But still, there's the stigma around it. And most of the time, or at least this is what I have been observing, is that the stigma now is not just coming from the men. It's coming from the people around them. So if they even thought about going to therapy or taking care of their mental health or even changing habits, they would have the resistance coming from their circle or environment most of the time. But we do have now, thankfully, higher rates or higher numbers of Arab men seeking therapy or support, or just at least starting the conversations. So that is a good improvement and progress. But we still have a long road on that. And when you have, let's say, global trends, or you see someone as a role model for you, be it an actor or Simon Sinek, for example, Jordan Peterson, these men are doing a great job in helping conversations about mental health be easier. Jay Shetty, a lot of men, I don't want to name them all, but these men, because they have also louder voices, bigger platforms, when they say mental health is not a joke,
people
men
listen.
will listen. And it will trigger something, be it in men, Arab men, or their wives, or their friends, their colleagues. It will trigger something. It will help you feel that, wait a second, I feel that this is being talked about something I feel inside. So it could start by reading a book or finishing that episode that triggered that emotion. And then gradually you will start taking action. Be it in private or not, it's an action. There's movement. And when an Arab man, I'm just talking about Arab man because that's the word, the question. So imagine when an Arab man takes care of his mental health, it's going to reflect on his family, on his kids. His boy is going to look up and see his dad happy or in peace or knows how to regulate his emotions, doesn't act from a place of anger or bitterness or, you know what I mean? There's no aggressiveness anymore. If you look around, there's so much anger and aggression in Arab men. They're always like ready to fight. This is not actually a masculinity trait. This is trapped emotions, unfinished business, or as they call it, or unresolved baggage. So imagine if all of these men went and done consciously, made an effort, and took the decision to take care or look after their mental health. Lots of peaceful men around. So it will reflect on relationships, healthier, better marriages and relationships, and businesses will bloom. After that, you won't see any micromanagement anymore. You won't see any toxic manager. All this stems because of our mental health. So Arab men are now, they took the path to heal and to work on themselves. But I keep going back to the same point. Let's make it easier for them. Let's help them drop the shame, the guilt, the fear of being judged or belittled. It's as natural as going to a hairdresser or a dentist. It's normal.
And also allow them to fail.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We make it so hard for men to fail.
Absolutely. Because I see a job loss for a man has a different meaning than
God
a job loss
forbids.
for a, God forbid. We expect all of them to be super successful. And that can't happen for everyone. So why is it that we do not allow men to fail, and what sort of impact does it have on their mental health?
Well, this needs like another episode. But I'll do my best to make it as simple as possible. We do not allow men to fail because of selfish reasons. Because if you're a mother or a wife asking the man to always be successful and always making money, because at the end of the day, that money is going to come back to you. So it's a sense of safety, a sense of stability, a sense of whatever you want to call it. So a man is not allowed to fail because if I fail, I have a backup plan.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's 10x, if not 100, more pressure on you to be the breadwinner, but don't fail. If that narrative changed, and if you go back as well, it starts from school, right? You have to be an A student, or else you're a bad person. It starts from a very young age. When we start changing that narrative and allowing or giving ourselves and men around us the permission to fail, because failures are necessary for growth, for healing, for learning, for leading. You have to fail. Tell me, how many times have you failed so I can see if I could trust you as a leader? I can't trust anyone if he didn't fail. Men see failure as, or not see failure, they associate that failure, whether in business, in life, in money, with themselves. So if I fail in something, then I am a failure. This should change. If I fail at something, this is just an opportunity to see other ways of doing it, other ways of succeeding. But I mean, I don't know what to say except that we have a lot of things piling up that made us reach this point where everything seems to be messy, but we're just dealing one thing at a time. A man who fails is not a failure. Just as when a woman fails, she's not a failure. We always say
So
to a
well
woman,
said.
no, don't worry about it. Keep wearing that crown. You got this. It's okay. We'll help. Why don't we have the same approach for men? So I would say fail and fail better. Be a good failure.
So poignant. Um, how do women help men in their mental health journey?
Well, first, by the first step for a woman to be able to hold space for men is for her to heal herself. Because any woman who won't allow a man to be himself completely, there's projection going on. There's something going on that is triggering that behavior, or that's how she taught. So I would say, first step, heal yourself, heal your heart, change that narrative, change the environment that is not allowing you to drop that narrative that why should men be supported, or why should I be there for my husband or partner or whatever it is. He can handle himself. He's a big boy. Change that language, change that narrative. Start within yourself. And I always follow that motto in life. If I don't, if I wouldn't do it for myself, then I wouldn't do it for someone else. Or what I would love to have for myself, I would do it for someone else. You see that? So if I would want someone to support me when I'm struggling, then I also have to allow that support and to give back that support for someone else, regardless of the gender. So one, to simplify it, one, heal yourself. Go see what else what do you have as a pattern when it comes to thinking or approach to mental health. What kind of limiting beliefs do you have? What kind of behaviors that is really not serving you or the men in your life? Then learn their language. You can't go and talk to a man the same way you talk with a woman. You can't go and say to a man, how is like, are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling okay? Like, you can't talk to him like that. You have to come around in a way that a man can understand. So learn his language, learn about the symptoms, have a conversation, encourage him to take care of himself. And it could start as simple as booking a spa for him, maybe. Babe, honey, I thought about you. I know how much you're working hard. So I just thought to spoil you a little bit. He's gonna love it at the beginning, but then when you make it as a routine, encourage him to do boys' night out. Encourage him to have a support group. Get him books for him to read. Watch movies together that talk about mental health. Plenty of them. So there are so many simple steps a woman can do until they reach a point where everything is open, vulnerability is encouraged, crying is encouraged, and they would allow them, if they were a couple, to raise good kids in a way where they are wearing their vulnerabilities as crowns, as a pride. I'm proud to be emotional. I am proud to be sensitive. I am proud that I have failed in this. But I'm also proud that I've done all of that to create a healthy environment for myself, men, and the kids to come. One last advice for women, because we do have that a lot. Drop any person or any friend that would belittle you for supporting your partner. We have that a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
So drop that friend. She's no good for you or for your family.
Last question, Rahaf. We are products of our parenting, but then we also go out into the world
Yeah.
and we experience it for ourselves. So, to what extent does parenting shape men, and how can they liberate themselves from the trappings of the parenting
What
that
a
they've received?
question. Everything that we go through in life, or whatever shape us in our adult life, has come or has been built and programmed from the age of 0 to 7. So imagine the kids, what they observe, what they listen to, what they see in that phase from 0 to 7. When you grow up, it becomes much more challenging to unlearn what you have been learning for the most of your life, which is behaviors, coping mechanisms, thinking patterns, whatever that is. To liberate yourself, it has to be coming from a conscious place, and that requires awareness. You can't solve something that you're not aware about. So I would suggest that awareness, increasing awareness, but it's not as simple as I make it sound, because to increase awareness means you have to take the blindfold off and open up your ears and see things differently. Try seeing things from a different perspective. Why are you feeling angry all the time? Why is your chest hurting? Why do you get headaches? Why are there muscle pains? Men get those physical pains more than women because of those trapped emotions, and they end up acting or behaving the way their parents did. So if his dad used to address those, let's say, conflicts at home by yelling, shouting, screaming, turning their backs and going, I don't know, outside the house, then his coping mechanisms would be the same. If his mom used to, I don't know, shut down, not talk, whatever the parents used to do, we model it and we think this is the norm. This is the normal. This is what my dad used to do. And why should I do any different? Until something really bad happens. And most of the time, it would be a friend, a close friend of his, would either have a heart attack, die by suicide, or get diagnosed with depression. It would be an alarming alarming to that man himself. Wait a second, I should do things differently. Or when his friend beats his son or beats his daughter or whatever that behavior is, it would act like, wait a second, no, this is not okay. Because when you come to see things from objective eye point of view, it would help you to raise your awareness. And of course, all the resources, the open knowledge that is now all over the internet, it makes things easier. There are a lot of podcasts like this also talking about how important for you to unlearn what you have been learning and learn new things. That process is 50% of the problem, and then everything would flow. So it's very important to liberate himself. He just needs to increase his awareness and make a conscious effort that I will do something about this, even if that meant for me to sit with that pain. Because liberty means you have to touch the wound and then free it and heal it. But you can't heal something if you can't touch it.
Thank you, Rahaf. Thank you for being part of the podcast and for sharing such wonderful insights.
Anamika, thank you for a beautiful conversation. And I really admire how active you were in listening and holding the space for this type of conversation. I know it's not easy. So thank you. And I hope everyone likes it and
I'm sure they will.
Takes action on that.
I'm sure they will. Remember, to be vulnerable is to be human. Don't deny yourself the chance to express yourself fully and be able to say, I am not okay. Chances are that will change the course of your life for better. KT Life Podcast is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, Google. You can also watch the video of the podcast on Khaleej Times YouTube channel. And while you're at it, do share your thoughts on this episode on KT's social media platforms. Till next week, this is Anamika Chatterjee along with producer Phil Green and camera person Shihab signing off. Thank you so much.